Join me today as we talk about another 90s sci fi movie, Dark Angel. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobby, and today we're going to be talking about another 90s sci fi action movie, Dark Angel. Or, at least that's what it's listed as on Amazon Prime. Now, if you're like me and you watched this movie on home video back in the 90s, you probably know it better as I Come in Peace. And yeah, so this is a Dolph Lundgren movie. One where he actually tries to mainly be just a normal person. I mean, he's a cop, but he's just kind of a guy. He's not like a super soldier or anything like that. And he is like I said, he's a cop. He's like a, what do they call it? He's the Vice Squad. So, anti-drug squad. And so the beginning of the movie is partners in an undercover operation, and he ends up getting it, and some guys walk out of a federal building with a whole bunch of heroin. Because I think it's heroin. And then they get robbed by an alien. Yeah, so here's the sci-fi angle here. There's an alien, very large, like, I don't know, maybe about a foot taller than Dolph Lundgren, who himself is like 6'4", 6'5". I mean, the guy's pretty tall. Might be taller than that. But yes, this alien wants the drugs because he has a thing on his wrist that he uses to pump people full of drugs to get their brain to start pumping out endorphins. And then he has a long knife-looking thing that he jabs into the front of their skull and pumps out the endorphins. And where he comes from, those are a priceless drug. And as the coroner explains to Dolph Lundgren's character later on, it would be the perfect drug here, except we lack the capability of storing and or distributing it. Plus, there's, the ethical concerns of killing people to get drugs from their brains. So, for those of you who troll the darker sides of the internet, you've probably heard the conspiracy theories that there are people that actually do this at the moment. Or if you've seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, I believe that was what they supposedly had at one point. Is that or is adrenochrome? It's one of the two. Anyway, so the plot of the movie is essentially that he now has to fight an alien drug dealer, and the FBI is kind of involved. Eventually, it's obvious they're trying to cover things up because they want the weapons tech. And there's a good guy alien who's a cop who's trying to stop him because he wants to make sure that he never makes it off Earth. Because if the other people found out about this place, they would just show up with their advanced technology and just start harvesting people. So he wants to make sure that doesn't happen, and obviously Dolph Lundgren also wants to make sure that doesn't happen. But yeah, so you got... Oh, the alien also has two weapons. He's got what's basically just a gun, but it has settings on it, and whatever it's firing definitely explodes upon impact. And like level 1 and level 2 they're pretty high explosive. When you get into 3 and 4 and you're dealing with some real potent stuff, which we don't see till the very end of the movie. And then the other is a disc that he fires that's, like razor sharp all the way around. There's no real safe way to grab it. And it's magnetically tuned to the faint electric charge that the human body gives off. So it's drawn to people, and it comes at you and tries to cut into you, basically. And as the movie progresses, they find it after the initial where the alien shows up and takes out the guys with the drugs. They find it lodged in a speaker because the magnet in the speaker drew it to it. And so, yeah, once they figure out what they're looking for and where, because they look at the crime scene, they think the guy's been stabbed or something, and Dolph Lundgren's character's like, no, those aren't stab wounds. This is something else. After he goes to a adult establishment to try to think, he sees a pool table and like everything kind of lines up in his brain as far as like how the weapon had to have bounced around the room and everything. So it's a decent movie in my opinion. The last movie I talked about was Class of 1999, and I believe the last time I saw I Come in Peace was also back in the 90s or the early 2000s, because I know it was definitely on VHS tape the last time I saw it, and I think it still holds up. You know, as a 90s action movie. You know, you're not getting Shakespeare here. You know, I'm not going to BS you about that. But the dialogue, you know, for the most part, is decent dialogue for for the movie we're talking about here. And there's not really any cringeworthy parts. The well, maybe the name of the drug dealers, who are known as the White Boys, and well, they are all white. But I don't know if that was a mention of I don't know if it's a racial angle or if that's what they're dealing in is white powder. Doesn't really matter. They're generic bad guys. Most of them are from Central Casting. Like a couple of them you'll recognize from other things. Like Dolph Lundgren is the main actor in this movie. Some of the other people you've seen elsewhere, probably Law and Order, if you watch Law and Order. Then, like the FBI agent he gets saddled with, I don't know the actor's name, but he had a show on HBO called Dream On, lasted for a few seasons. I had to look that up. I remembered he was on a show on HBO, I just can't remember what it was called. But I don't know the guy's name off the top of my head. And this is like the only other thing I ever saw him in. So, I don't think he's a huge actor. So, the action, very solid. The plot, like, as long as you can buy into the aliens using people for drugs thing, like, the plot's pretty straightforward, and, you know, there's no one's really holding the idiot ball at any real point, which was refreshing. The action all looks pretty good. It's all practical effects, I think. There might be a little bit of really early CGI as far as the disc, but I think it's just superimposing an image on the film. But I could be wrong. And the movie takes place in Houston. Now, I don't think that's mentioned in the movie. I think I actually saw it in the write-up. So I have no idea if it's actually shot in Houston. But since Houston's not a super well-known city as far as its appearance, it's very easy to, like, that movie could have been filmed in, like, the outskirts of Indianapolis, for all I know. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but I'm just saying it could have been. And so that's a movie you make to keep the budget down. You know, Dolph Lundgren's your only real big star, and even then we're talking, you know, he is still just Dolph Lundgren, so we're not talking huge star here. And all the effects are practical, again, except maybe some things with the disc. You know, it's basically just explosions and gunfire. There's a car chase at one point, but that's pretty much it. So, you know, I would like to believe the movie probably made its money back because, like I said, it's a solid action movie. The premise isn't super absurd. There's only two aliens, and yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was still a pretty solid movie watching it the other day, and I would recommend it. You know, as an action movie or as a sci-fi movie. And yeah, I'd say it's probably 6.5, probably where I'd fall on this one. Maybe a 7, but it's probably 6.5. Because even though it's solid, like, again, it's not Shakespeare. You know, like, this isn't a movie you're like, oh man, this is one of the greatest movies ever. But this also isn't one that you're like, yes, that is definitely one of the movies of all time. So, this is better than the last movie I talked about, which is Class of 1999, that's for sure. And it's definitely held up a hell of a lot better. So, I mean, if you want to see a solid, probably a solid upper tier B movie from the 90s, you know, action, adventure, sci fi, like, this is a pretty good one to go with. Uh, I will say that there is some nudity at one point, I think. But even there, I don't remember for sure. The way the alien does the thing is like he's got a thing that fires out from his wrist, but first he like opens up, you know, tears in people's clothing and fires into their chest. Most of his victims are male, but at least one of them is a woman, and I think she is topless at that point. But there's no gratuitous sex scenes, or which actually for a '90s action movie, that's actually an element that's missing because that was in a lot of '90s action movies and '80s action movies. So yeah, but otherwise, like I said, it's solid. If you want to see Dolph Lundgren being not like a super soldier or a Russian boxer or a reanimated super soldier or a cyborg or something like that, like just him just playing just a guy. I mean, he's a cop, but just a guy. Then this is your movie. So, like I said, probably about 6.5. So now, for those of you who watched the last video and this video, it basically trolling through Amazon Prime and finding movies that it's been a while since I've seen, or you know, that look interesting. And so far, because I've already watched the next movie and I probably have the movie picked out that's going to be after that one, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty solid stream of 90s movies here, sci-fi and or action movies. So as a just throwing it out there, the next movie I'm going to talk about is going to be Free Jack. And I think I'm going to watch Johnny Mnemonic after that. So we'll see. But anyway, that's really all there is to say about this movie without going into like major spoilers. Which, I mean, I guess it could. It's a movie from the 90s, but there's not really a whole lot to talk about. It's mainly an action movie, a shoot 'em up, and you know, there's a little bit of intrigue with, is the FBI guy actually on his side, and you know, if he is his boss really on his side, and so on. And there's a little subplot there going on. There's a subplot of the drug dealers who killed his partner in the beginning. And, you know, you got these little, you know, there's not like major twists and turns here. This isn't some labyrinthine plot or anything. But, yeah, you know, there's a little bit of substance to the movie. You know, there's clearly a background between him and the coroner. We don't get a whole lot on it, but it's clear there was something there. So, you know, I mean, it's a competently made movie, is what I'm trying to say here. So, anyway, check it out if you want to see Dolph Lundgren fighting a bulletproof, almost unstoppable guy who, I don't know if the bulletproof is part of their clothing or just they're like tough, but apparently it did not extend to jagged edged rusted pipes, as you'll see at the end of the movie, which, I mean, could be a thing. So he kind of gets like the reverse Bennett treatment, only here it kind of makes sense, because as near as I can tell, these aliens are made of cottage cheese on the inside, kind of like Bishop, but from Aliens. So anyway, you know, check it out, and if I've done it right, there is an Amazon affiliate link down below, and I think that takes you to, like, if you want to subscribe for Prime, if I did it right. But if you're seeing this very far into the future, mind you, I'm filming this in August of 2024, definitely make sure the movie's there if you're going to go that route and subscribe just for this movie, which I'm not saying you should, but if you're going to, definitely make sure the movie's still there before you do that, because I don't know what Amazon's like turnover rate is on older movies like this, because I don't know who on earth else would be getting these, because like I said, Amazon seems to have just like become the digital 90s like Blockbuster Video, hometown video store here. Also, there's one guy in this movie, I should have mentioned this earlier, he is like the Asian henchman in 80s and 90s movies. This guy's in Big Trouble in Little China, Die Hard, and just all kinds of other movies, but he's in this one too, and this is the only movie I can recall he actually has speaking lines. Most of them he's just kind of there. Or like in Big Trouble in Little China, he screams at the beginning of the big fight. the back alley brawl between the Chang Sings and the Wing Kong. I'll post a picture of him here so you guys know what I'm talking about. If you've seen many movies, I'm sure you know who this guy is, but I don't know his real name. So, and I'll try to put that down there too. So anyway, if you like that, if any of those sounded good, check it out. Let me know down in the comments. Have you seen this movie? Did you actually see it as Dark Angel at any point in the 90s? Or was the whole I Come in Peace thing just for the video stores? You know, if you've got any insight into that, let me know. Because I only ever knew it as I Come in Peace. And I saw the description. I was like, Dark Angel's like, I've seen this movie, but that's not what it's called. And I usually only run into that with like Italian horror movies. So anyway, let me know down in the comments any thoughts you got on this. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But otherwise, look out for the next video, which will be about Free Jack. And we'll see you later.